Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So just a really short video about some stuff that's been going on with 0N1, I guess you call it, 0N1 Force. So I've come to this pretty late. This was actually one of the early sort of PFP projects, so 7,777 side profile images on Ethereum blockchain. The prices have been high, the prices are now pretty low. Let's have a look how high they were back in the day. So yeah, at some point the average price here was, what's that going to be? That's almost 9 ETH. So clearly we're a long way off from that. I've bought a couple recently, not because I think they're going to be a great investment. I think they're quite interesting. What's been really interesting is since I bought them, there's a couple of projects that they've done, and the first one of them, which is just launched today, is the comics. So they've just airdropped to everyone who owns one of those PFPs. They've airdropped a comic. So at the moment, the comic is just a bit of artwork. We can see here. There's as many comics as there are original NFTs, so 7,777 items. Everyone who owns one of the PFPs got one. Interesting, you can't sell them, and we'll see why. So this is what the comic looks like. This is just artwork at the moment. I don't know where the comic's available. I guess at some point you'll be able to go to a website and read the comic. But you go here. I mean, obviously there's some variation in there. So maybe at some point, there's some sort of I think they're all it's classic. I don't know what the other one is, and there's sort of some sort of art style. But what's interesting here, probably difficult to read, but it says the comics are part of the next evolution in the storytelling universe we're building, called the I don't know how you pronounce that. Maybe it's 0N1 verse. I don't know, whatever. Oni verse maybe. But it says the Oni comics. I'll call them Oni now. Oni comics are directly linked to the owner. Blah blah blah. Important. The comics are owned by the NFT, so the PFP. By transferring or selling your original NFT, you also give ownership of the comic to the new recipient. So this is an interesting sort of thing where previously, I mean, I guess we've had this to some degree, where if you owned a Bored Ape, you sort of then you did that, and you got things like the chemistry set to make the mutant, and I think the original dogs, the Kennel Club, were airdropped to you and stuff like that. So there's always been this idea that you might own an NFT and get something airdropped to it, a sort of accessory or companion or something like that. But then obviously once you've got that companion thing, you can sell that companion thing on, or you can sell the original one off and keep the companion thing. So you could have had a Bored Ape, made a mutant ape, sold off the Bored Ape or the mutant ape, and you still have the other one. So so that's sort of been where we've been at before. Whereas these ones are sort of more interesting, because if I have 3 of the PFPs, so I have 3 comics. If I sell one of my PFPs, I also lose the comic. I basically sell on the comic. So and there's also another thing they have called frames, which we can have a look at very quickly. So frames are versions, another graphical version of your PFP. And again, that's not I don't know technically. I guess if it's an NFT or what standard it's using, but basically that is an artwork, a sort of a unique artwork that is generated on the unique PFP that you already own. But if you sell the original PFP, you lose all that stuff as well. So at the moment with these Oni or 01N, whatever you call them, you have the original PFP, and also now you have 2 additional bits of media. So this comic and this frame. But if you sell the original PFP that they're linked to, those all go with the in terms of the purchase. And that's sort of interesting, because it sort of forces people to sort of hold on to these things if they want access to the comic, because you can't, at least at the moment, buy the comic separately. Maybe they'll do that later on. Have a version that they sort of standalone if people want to buy them. But basically, it forces you to have sort of your hands are sort of made more diamond, because instead of selling something and keeping the airdrop thing you got, you're basically now selling everything. So you can imagine over a period of time, maybe there's 5 or 10 different bits of asset that are connected to these original PFPs. Then, I mean, in a sense, it makes them more valuable. So that's sort of good that people. I'm not just buying a PFP; I'm buying all this other stuff as well. But it also makes people go, well, I want to keep them because it's got all this other stuff, and particularly if those are being used in games or other things. It's actually quite a clever sort of psychological premise. Let's have a quick. I'll just quickly bring up the frames as well. So here we go. This is the frame. Obviously, it's not an NFT. No activity, can't be sold. Was minted, airdropped to me effectively, and again, here we go. So again, it's sort of the same thing as we saw with the comic. So the goal of these is to provide an expanded universe. A whole bunch of stuff about the ethereal enclave, whatever that is. blah, blah. So here we go again. Important, the frames are owned by their NFT. By transferring or selling your original NFT, you also give ownership of the frames to the wallet owner. So that's sort of again this sort of interesting thing that it's a different level of NFTs. It is an NFT, I think, but it's like an NFT that's sort of like based on something. It's almost like a child NFT based on the original parent. I mean, that's probably not a great analogy, but that's sort of the idea. It is an NFT, but it's attached to the original NFT. So it's like a layer 2 NFT almost. That's a terrible analogy. Let's leave it at that. Anyway, so that's what the frames look like, and actually the frames look much cooler than the original ones, if you ask me. And that's sort of again another interesting point. So these are all the frames. So these are all versions of the underlying PFP. And these are, I think, sort of much cooler. So it allows you to also build up this idea that you can own an original NFT that may not be actually that interesting. Maybe it's sort of the cheapest one you can find, but over time you may get these actually kind of more awesome versions that you play in games, and you just can't trade them. And that gives you like in a sense of future proofing of what's going on here. I mean, you can imagine the original NFT is a character like these ones are, and then you're minting a version that is a car or something, a totally different sort of asset based on the original NFT. And that obviously then allows you to do nice stuff around interoperability and that sort of thing. So I'm sure this isn't unique. I guess other PFP projects are doing this. I'm not saying only Force or whatever they're called are the best at doing it, but this is the first one I've done. Obviously not investment advice. I just happen to like these, so that's why I bought them, and then all this kind of cool stuff happened. So I'll probably continue to buy them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. See you again soon.